Hey guys, this is a little bit different of a video than I normally would do, but I kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit of backstory because it's actually starting to tie into some of my more recent investigations. So my whole life, I've really been super into ghosts. I've really been like very, very into it. I've always kind of approached it from like a skeptic's angle, but I've always been interested. I don't necessarily want to prove that they're real, but I don't want to prove that they're fake either. I just kind of want to see what I find. And that's why I decided to start documenting it. I've actually been hunting ghosts for probably close to like 7 or 8 years at this point, but I've just now finally decided to start recording it. And at least currently, I literally record everything just based like off my iPhone. But I still think that some of the things that we're experiencing are pretty insane. And honestly, I've really enjoyed going back through and watching through our spirit box sessions or anything else that we're doing to see what we're seeing that maybe I didn't notice in the moment. It's kind of bringing back like or bringing up like a lot of really interesting, unique things that maybe I just didn't notice right away. And the reason I wanted to make this video is one, I think it's kind of an interesting story of how I decided to like really start recording and documenting this stuff. And also, since I started recording, it's kind of now actually affecting other people. The main person being Joanna, who you guys have seen in my videos previously. She has had some pretty insane encounters as well. So realistically, I've had a few instances outside of my normal ghost hunting where maybe I've had like a paranormal experience here and there, but there's specifically one that sticks out to me that I don't think I'll ever forget. That is probably about a little over a year ago, about December of 2024. I had just purchased my first house, the house that I'm currently in, and the office and my master bedroom had these horrible, atrocious, ugly floors. So before I moved any of my furniture in, I was redoing the floors. I hadn't even like painted the walls yet, so I was just redoing the floors. I was in the master bedroom, and I think I had some sort of podcast on. I was just working away, getting the flooring in, getting a little bit frustrated because if you guys have ever done like the click lock flooring, it's kind of annoying, especially it was my first time really doing it. And I remember I was the only person in the house. My roommate who was moving in with me had actually left for the day. He was doing some work in his room. He had left. I know for a fact I was the only person in the house. I was the only person with a key. Even I like literally just changed the locks too. Like I know for a fact that I was the only person in the house. So I was just grinding away. It was actually like snowing really heavily at this point too. And I kept like glancing up from time to time, looking out the window of my bedroom to kind of gauge how much snow was coming down. Because of course, I still had to drive my car home, had to get home safe, and finish packing at my old house to move into this house. And I remember at one point, I looked up to check on how much snow had come down, and it was about 7 or 8 p.m. So it was completely dark. And as I look up, I see a woman standing in the doorway of my bedroom. And she was just standing there behind me and just looking into the room. And she was facing as if she had come from the guest bedroom, which is almost next to my room. You guys will probably see pictures of how my house is laid out. I saw her in the reflection of like the window. I turned around and obviously there was nobody there. But then I look back in the reflection of the window and she is still standing there in the reflection of the window looking at me. And then she just looks ahead and just walks down the hall. And I got up and I searched every inch of the house and there was nobody there. And I know I wasn't seeing anyone outside because it was like by the time I got done with the flooring, it was probably like a foot and a half, 2 feet of snow. There was no footprints outside. I mean, nobody was outside. It was like damn near blizzarding outside. But obviously, I'm from Buffalo, so like that's just normal weather to me. But nobody was outside. Nobody was shoveling or anything like that. I 100% would have been able to tell if it was a real person, and they wouldn't have just been standing there staring. But yeah, I could tell that whatever it was in my house, and it was watching me. For the last year or so, I've kind of just thought like maybe that was one of the previous owners of the house, kind of just checking in and seeing what was going on. I know it's pretty common, like spirits, if they see changes being made to where they reside, they get curious. Sometimes they can get upset, but mostly they just get curious. So I figured it was kind of that. Either that or my mom actually suggested that it could be my grandmother kind of watching over me. The lady didn't look like my grandmother, but I guess maybe it could have been like a younger version that I hadn't seen or something like that. I know I saw it, and that's honestly the only time I've ever like actually seen an apparition. So I went the last year or so, kind of just with that in the back of my mind. I would occasionally tell the story to a curious friend or anything like that. But I never really thought much of it, and I honestly haven't experienced anything in this house since. Although I have been considering doing like a spirit box session in the house, maybe using other paranormal equipment as well. But part of me is like, doesn't really want to invite that kind of thing into where I'm living. Kind of, I don't necessarily want to invite that kind of thing into my house. After Josh and Joanna were in town, and after we filmed that Pigman Road video, we came home and we just hung out. We were playing some video games together, laughing, joking around, having a really good time. Joanna ended up going to bed a little bit early. I think she had like a headache or something, and she just wanted to go to bed. And Josh and I were still horsing around, playing video games, doing whatever we were doing, having fun. I didn't think anything of it. And honestly, I didn't even notice anything was off until a few weeks later. They were out of town. And we were just kind of talking about the whole Pigman Road experience again. And I think maybe we were even like prepping for my trip to Tennessee. And we were figuring out where we were going to film in Tennessee. She sent me a message that kind of like shocked me because she had known about the story of the woman that I saw, but they were actually staying in that guest bedroom that I believe she came from. So I didn't tell them where in the house that I actually like saw this woman, because obviously I don't want to just be like, hey, a ghost just came from the room that you guys are staying in, have fun, go to sleep. So I didn't tell them that part. But I'll put the message that I got from her like right here on the screen. And that really just like rattled me because they were literally in the room that I saw this lady come from. So that was incredibly shocking to me. I mean, overall, it could have just been a general panic attack or something, but she was pretty adamant that like she felt like something was watching her, and it was just overall worrying. I guess the reason I'm talking about this is it really ties into the previous Pigman Road video and the Pegram video, at which the time I'm filming this hasn't come out yet, but should be out by the time you guys are watching this. And we really think that Joanna may have had something attached to her. I wanted to make this video and just kind of tell you guys that story because I've never actually dealt with anything like this before. Across my like 6, 7, 8 years of paranormal investigation, I've really never felt like anything was attached to me. I felt like I've felt things. I felt like I've maybe seen things. I've definitely heard things. But this is kind of a surreal experience to have this thing like happened in my own house. I think it's just a really good story to share in general because it hits so close to home for me. And I'm sure that there's so many people out there who have had very similar experiences. So with that being said, maybe eventually someday I will film an investigation in my house and I'll try to see who the woman is that I saw and see maybe if it's connected to the individual that Joanna felt like was watching her, as well as I'll try to do any updates on the whole situation with Joanna. Unfortunately, she lives far away in Tennessee, so I'm not necessarily able to film with her and Josh all the time. Anytime I'm with them, I'm going to try to film videos and hopefully not get things attached to Joanna. That's not the goal. So I'm not just trying to make people like get attachments. That's obviously terrible. And I know, especially for like the more religious people, that is like a really negative thing. I also thought that I wanted to share this with you guys because this is also kind of part of being a paranormal investigator and part of doing this kind of thing, which is just, there has to be like an inherent risk. There's always the risk of like running into a homeless person if you're in an abandoned place and like who knows what they have on them. There's always the risk of getting like assaulted or anything like that if you're like in like the more sketchy areas where a lot of these like haunted locations are. There's always the risk of like an animal coming up to you if you're in like the woods or anything like that, right? Like there's a lot of inherent risk, but then there's also just like the spiritual risk of this. This was part 1 of a 2-part video. Stay tuned because you're not going to want to miss part 2. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.